I'm Nick Smallman, and I want to show you how challenges in our everyday communication can affect our social well-being. I'm going to use examples from current events in the United States, and I've asked some of America's leading experts to help me. These films aren't about politics. What I want to discover is what these challenges are and what we could potentially do about them. So, for progress to happen, we naturally need to work together, but that's not happening. In fact, we've become more divided and tribal. So I want to know what's going on.
People are pissed off at various aspects of their life that are not working, but in particular, that are not working in ways that feel unfair.
You easily reach this world where we have this affective negative feeling about the other side, where we see the other side as a group that we can't understand.
When someone creates an other in the way that Trump does, it actually gives the people on the inside of the tent a feeling of belonging.
And so that's one kind of reaction, and that is to circle the wagons. I like my tribe, and if you're not of my tribe, then we need to denigrate, dehumanize, and destroy you.
There are strong feelings on the right, but liberals aren't exactly silent either. The point is, people are angry, America is divided, national identity is crumbling, tribes are taking over.
But in general, you don't come into elections in America with a lot of voters who are undecided, and that party ID partisanship factor is a huge factor.
When you join a tribe, you buy into the way they see things. This can lead to flawed thinking, which we see among voters. So what's going on psychologically?
Well, there's this idea in psychology called the confirmation bias, where we kind of tend to take in information that confirms our ideas about the world, and we tend to discount information that contradicts ideas about the world.
There is this still laziness of, researching, getting facts clear, cross-checking, that can really be poisonous.
So we're kind of further and further chucked into these filter bubbles and less able to understand or empathize with people who have a contrary point of view.
This leads to binary thinking, where a sense of them and us predominates over everything, and there's not much room for flexibility.
Our party identity is now so tied in with all these other identities, our race, our education level, our social status, where we live, all these other things, that it becomes just a visceral, deep part of who we are.
So we have to organize our world into good and bad. Do we like this person? Do we not like this person? Are you a good person? Are you a bad person? That's called binary thinking.
Binary thinking makes it hard to change our mind, even when our thoughts are challenged by a new idea that's appealing, but which goes against the grain. We might even try to hold on to contradictory ideas simultaneously. This is called cognitive dissonance.
There's a developmental edge to this, right? So basically, it is easier to see the world in black and white. Okay, it is easier to see the world if there are bad guys and good guys, in that if you just get rid of the bad guys, you're fine.
If we're already suffering from confirmation bias and cognitive dissonance, social media can quickly make it worse, deepening divisions between them and us.
I think what social media does is to churn up fear and anger by bombarding people with information, but never giving them the space, literally and figuratively, to step back and to evaluate the merits of it.
Social media is a wonderful environment for conspiracy theories to flourish because there are no gatekeepers and anybody can retweet anything.
When anonymously commenting online, why are some people more aggressive and vicious than they would ever be in the real world?
The difference between expressing anger online and expressing it in face-to-face real-life situations has partly to do with what's become understood as the online disinhibition effect. So people are less inhibited when behaving online. And secondly, the lack of what I call interpersonal complexity, face-to-face complexity. And they both kind of work synergistically.
There's that whole idea of being behind the shadows, and you take on these different personalities, and you can be a different person and say these things and incite violence, and that can be problematic.
Social media users who feel free to say what they want risk deepening America's polarization. The risk becomes reality when online anger is deliberately provoked.
All of the news, the partisan news, and all of the partisan social media, all these bubbles, basically what you see is like all of it is about trying to get you upset.
If one person is angry, that's one thing. If one person is angry in a football stadium, that's another thing. If another person is angry on Twitter with millions and millions of people getting angry, that's another thing altogether.
The US is a very volatile space and extremely difficult to predict what's going to happen there, and quite frightening, frankly.
And when you say frightening, what consequences are you concerned about?
In the US right now, well, increasing violence, increasing polarization, and Trump's complete lack of scruples or ethics or truthfulness or any other quality that one would expect of a president.
As we've seen, in the heightened tensions of polarized America, social media is a powerful force, but its power cuts both ways.
This whole movement with George Floyd speaks to the power of social media. And I think when wielded correctly, can be a really, really great tool in waking people up.
So it does work both ways.
So what have we discovered? Well, the big thing I think we've learned is that we love to be part of something bigger than ourselves. It's also true that we can be provoked into all kinds of behaviors by people more powerful than ourselves and encouraged by the momentum of the tribe. We also know that behaviors that might seem natural to us are actually a consequence of flawed thinking, such as confirmation bias or cognitive dissonance. And history tells us that if left unchecked, blind belief in a tribe can have awful consequences. So what can we do about it? Well, I think the first thing to really think about is ask ourselves, what are our values? And should we jettison any of those values simply to fit in? The second thing to do, if we want to start solving some of these massive problems we face as a society, is to actually think about protecting the only tribe that really matters. And of course, that one contains every single living thing on Earth.